My name is Daniel Nowak. I lead the Global Alliance for Social Entrepreneurship at the World Economic Forum, and excited to be here today. Thanks for having us at this amazing space today. The theme of the World Government Summit is shaping future governments, and social entrepreneurs all around the world have been working closely with governments to address key social issues, address environmental issues, and build bridges in societies. So the time couldn't be better to talk about the social economy and the social economy representing social entrepreneurs all around the world. So today we will hear from our panel about what governments have been taking, what kind of steps they've been taking to support social entrepreneurs in the social economy all around the world. But before we do so, I have the honor to introduce an amazing woman who has been at the forefront of shaping the social economy for the last 25 years, Ms. Hilde Schwab, who's co-founded Schwab Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship at the World Economic Forum, which represents today more than 400 leading social entrepreneurs all around the world, brings their voices to Davos, to the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum, and through that really shapes the social economy per se. Ms. Schwab, thanks for being here. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Daniel. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today on the important topic of the social economy at the World Government Summit. All over the world, social entrepreneurs are creating innovative solutions to shape a better future for humanity while running financially sustainable businesses. They pioneer distinct business models which prioritize social and environmental values. As co-founder and chairperson of the Schwab Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship, I have the opportunity of working together with the world's most inspiring social entrepreneurs on a daily basis. Over the past 25 years, we have awarded over 400 individuals for their transformative innovations that change the world for the better. They are reimagining our economy to be more inclusive for people and more sustainable for the planet. This is best illustrated by an example. Greystone Bakery was named Social Innovator of the Year in Davos 3 weeks ago. They are known for producing brownies used in Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Greystone Bakery has pioneered the open hiring policy, which offers work on a first come, first hired basis with no interviews, no background checks, and no resumes. Through their open hiring policy, they directly contribute to a more inclusive labor market. And this is just one example. Collectively referred to as the social economy, it is a maturing way of organizing economic activities and of significant size. The social economy now accounts for about 7% of GDP and up to 12% of the employment rate in some countries. Also, the impact investment market that invests in social enterprises is growing rapidly. It surpassed $1.1 trillion of assets under management in 2022. At the Schwab Foundation, it is our mission to highlight and give a platform to the social economy by including social entrepreneurs in the meetings, discussions, platforms, and research of the World Economic Forum, as well as in other global platforms, such as the World Government Summit today. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the Schwab Foundation also launched the Global Alliance for Social Entrepreneurship, which brings together 100 members, corporations, investors, philanthropists, governments, researchers, media, and industry actors in support of the social economy. We are proud to work with esteemed partners such as the ILO, a special welcome to His Excellency Gilbert Hongbo, and the OECD, European Commission, and ASEAN to enable policy action which advances the social economy. Because to truly unlock its potential, the social economy needs political recognition, investment, and infrastructure. At the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum last May, the Alliance published a report titled Unlocking the Social Economy. It highlights the potential, its size, and manifestation across geographies as well as recommendations on how to further advance it. Among the key recommendations, it states that governments can design supportive legal frameworks, create incentives for funding and investment, and support dedicated education and training for social entrepreneurs. The speakers of the panel today all have significant experience and expertise on the different ways to unlock the potential of the social economy to shape a better future for humanity. I look forward to hearing from them. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Schwab, for setting us up to an exciting panel, and obviously already hearing that when we talk about the social economy, we're already talking about a significant part of the economy that's not just creating impact, but also economic value. So it's great to have you all on stage today. It's a pleasure to introduce Mr. Gilbert Humpeau, Director General of the ILO. We just had a chance of chatting a few weeks ago in Davos, so thanks for being back. Her Excellency Hessa Boumaid, Minister of State of the United Arab Emirates, and our dear fellow social entrepreneur on the panel as well, Wahid Kamalian, a partner and managing director of Amali Legacy. Thank you for your time today. If I may, I would like to start with the example of a social entrepreneur and how social entrepreneurs are actually creating impact and, again, business value. So, Mr. Kamalian, if you don't mind, you're representing, it's an easy task, representing millions of social entrepreneurs today on this stage. So how do you and how do your fellow social entrepreneurs create value for the world?
First things first, thank you very much for having me here, being part of this esteemed panel, and wonderful to be here with the audience today. My name is Wahid. I'm the founder of an organization called Amali Legacy. Just a brief background before we share what's happening with the wider ecosystem of social entrepreneurs. Amali is an organization with a very clear mission. We are here to unlock funds for charitable organizations and rural communities, predominantly those that are farmland or forest land owners. We do that through three distinct divisions. Our technology arm that has fundraising technology and funder stewardship technology, helping them unlock various forms of funds, predominantly donations at the time being. We do have a dedicated asset management arm that develops nature-based carbon projects for rural communities. The development pipeline right now of more than 1 million hectares of forestry land with more than 190,000 villagers. And once these carbon credits are sold, the majority of the proceeds go back to the villages that we're serving. And the third division is a social innovation studio that supports these villages in utilizing the funds effectively, both the donations as well as the proceeds from the sale of carbon credits, to deliver value to these villages and solve social problems. We're talking water access, energy access, affordable housing, vocational training, just to name a few. In terms of what's happening with the wider ecosystem, it's a very exciting time to be a social entrepreneur. We're seeing a lot of activity, a lot of incubators, accelerators are cropping up in our part of the world, in this region. We have amazing leaders in the current local ecosystem as well, and I see a few familiar faces from Ma'an. I know that they're championing social entrepreneurs in our part of the world. And beyond that, I would say that there is more focus from corporations and governments right now. There is more funding being allocated, which is encouraging more social entrepreneurs to innovate and, most importantly, create social impact.
Thank you so much. How long has it taken you to get to where you are today? How long was the journey?
The journey was not easy, but if your North Star is clear, if you have a clear guiding compass, you know the direction, there will be pivots along the way. Yeah. In the early stages, we didn't have an asset management arm. It was just working with NGOs, doing a lot of pilots with them, that we realized the potential of nature-based solutions. We uncovered a whole set of investors and funders that are keen to create these carbon projects. And then a social innovation studio was born, and here we are. So it takes time, but as long as your North Star is clear, your guiding compass is clear, your mission is clear, you will succeed.
Thank you. And I'm also asking because Your Excellency has created a lot of initiatives in the Emirates to support social entrepreneurs on that journey, and that was just described, incubator programs, but also an accreditation program for social entrepreneurs. So the question to you really, why is it important for governments to support social entrepreneurs?
Well, you see, Daniel, it is extremely important, and it's actually a necessity for governments to look into this sector. We don't mention here private sector or NGOs or governments. We are actually talking about a collaboration of the three of them that comes up with a need in the society, and most importantly, it's social entrepreneurs. A quick example just to ensure and highlight how important this sector is to the world, not only to governments, is what have happened 5 days back. A very tragic historical moment have hit two big countries around the world, both Turkey and Syria, and all the surrounding countries have actually been affected. None of us have seen that coming, not even a scientist. No one gave any alert that something as tragic as that will happen within seconds, where we have lost thousands and thousands and thousands of lives. Fortunately, the number keeps on occurring. So if us as government were not ready and did not see things coming into the future, and were not flexible and agile enough to move things around and to allow for such a sector to be there, it would have been very hard. I know the first 24 hours to 48 hours was very difficult, but luckily the whole world is actually right now focusing on how can we help. This is just one simple example. I don't want to go back and give an example of the pandemic and the importance, but again, our social entrepreneurs were the first frontiers who were there to help, to support, to understand. Why is the question? Because they are closer to the need of the societies. And if governments are smart enough, they will ensure they unlock this huge potential. So the governments can do so much, and there's a lot that need to be even done further and further to such smart, active, amazing sector.
Thank you so much. So social entrepreneurs form or strengthen the immune system of a country when it comes to crisis response.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Mr. Ungpo, we're having the feeling that the ILO obviously is at the forefront of the social and solidarity economy as well. And last year at the 110th session of the ILO conference, there was a general discussion on the social economy and the solidarity economy, and it led to the adoption of a resolution, and the first of its kind at an organization like the ILO, at an international organization. So tell us a bit more from your perspective, why this resolution and why now, and what does it aim to achieve?
First of all, thank you for having me on this panel, and I want to express my gratitude to Mrs. Schwab for again having us here. For ILO, it's quite very clear, and if I want following up what Honorable Minister just mentioned, our mandate in ILO to start with is really a social justice agenda. So I'm working on this resolution on the social and solidarity economy. I would like to borrow your expression, is a necessity on that. It was a necessity for us. And, we know it very well that most of the jobs today are created by the small and medium-sized enterprises. We know that the world is going through tremendous opportunities when it comes to AI, technology in general. We just heard from Honorable Minister at the opening session. Now, at the same time, we also know that a lot of groups of the society are at risk of being left behind. When we know that we have 4 billion, half of the population today, with zero coverage in terms of social protection. We know that we have 214 million that are still really what we call in ILO the working poor. They are working, but they remain really under poverty line. 23% of our youth are neither in education nor in employment nor in training. So by encouraging the social and the solidarity economy, that's where really not only we help to develop the spirit of entrepreneurship, but at the same token, entrepreneurship that really focusing really of the common good of bringing the profit, the surplus for all instead of just individual approach. So a human-centered approach over a capital-centered approach. And also, what for us it was quite very, very, very important is, it's fascinating how the social economy is contributing in converting the informal economy into a formal one, which help us with data, which help us also with being able to ensure that nobody is left behind. So that resolution was kind of overdue, and this is why you might wish to know that we do have some, we are also part of it with the colleague in the UN system, and there's a group of member states led by Spain and Senegal trying to push for a new resolution also in New York. At the UN level to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and we're hoping that this is going to get passed this year, hopefully. Thanks for that note. And it feels like we're talking a lot about tipping points when it comes to climate these days, but I guess there's also a social tipping point to every society. So social and solidarity economy can make a contribution towards that. Back to the social entrepreneur, Mr. Kamalian. This is obviously happening now at a very high level with an UN resolution, as we just heard, but also ILO resolution. The OECD has adopted that. So what is the effect of these kinds of high-level discussions and high-level resolutions on social entrepreneurs like you? Why are they important?
Fantastic question. And for this particular question, I want to highlight two things. I want to highlight local initiatives and local policy initiatives, as well as some of the initiatives that we're seeing in Africa. At a local level, I would say the government, especially over here, we are proud members of His Royal Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Innovation Fund in Dubai, part of the UAE Ministry of Finance. You're noticing that the government has a very forward-looking perspective on encouraging social entrepreneurship. So there is that push on encouraging more social entrepreneurs, whether it's through incubator program, accelerator programs, at, I would say, a government policy level, what we're seeing in Africa. So we develop nature-based carbon projects large scale. And we were involved in discussions around the regulation that an African country was developing. We're part of that early conversation. They brought us in. They saw the value that a social enterprise has to offer. And we helped highlight some of the gaps in the regulation, and the regulations were implemented and encouraged huge FDI into the country. But again, that doesn't mean that there is not much more work to do. As Her Excellency said, there's still a lot to be done. And what we're seeing right now is that at a national level, in some of the countries that we're looking at for our carbon asset management platform, the support is there. At a village level, the support is there from the rural communities to welcome us, embrace both our technology as well as our asset management services. The funders are there, the investors are there. We know how to structure these deals. However, the big challenge right now is the regional and local level government. So our call to action is engage in dialogue with us, open clear channels of communication, especially at regional and local government level, because we are noticing in other parts of the world some red tape, some bureaucracy, and that's what's impeding deal making and the opportunity to create these projects that would ultimately create a lot of impact. And again, we pass down the majority of the sale proceeds from our carbon credits to the rural communities. We pass a large portion of that to the government as well. So it's a win-win-win across the board. We just need more communication to create impact as social entrepreneurs.
Well, thank you. So what I'm hearing is that what is being said, the agenda that's being set at the national level and the national level trickles down to the municipality level, that you need to implement projects actually. So it's key to your work as well. Thank you for that. And Your Excellency, UAE is leading the social entrepreneurship space in so many ways, and also thanks to some of your work, of course. And I'm sure it wasn't always easy going. So can you share some of the lessons learned with us in the process to coming up with the infrastructure that's there?
Indeed. I mean, we need to be frank, it was never easy. But Mr. Wahid has said something 3 minutes ago when he said, if your North Star is real and clear, then there's no way you'll definitely achieve. I can, and specifically in this room, I can see a lot of faces that had the hand in making this a reality for the United Arab Emirates. And I'm very proud to see these faces and happy to see them, because I know that the future is only brighter. So social entrepreneurs, when you come closer to them, when you understand the background and why, how they're thriving, is very important. One of the most important requirements to make sure that this is a sustainable movement. It's not a one-off project and something that we can see for years to come that will change our culture and the way we deal with our economy as well, is to really understand and implement fundamental and essential points. One of the most important is such a sector requires access to finance. We need to make sure that people who work in this sector really have, their life is easy in terms of accessing finance. Second would be, we really need to understand as a community and as a country and as a government, what is our real expectations. We need to understand such a work will not yield results in a day or two. We need to be clear with our expectation. We need to understand that we are actually investing in such a sector, and therefore results might not appear today, but will definitely appear one day. Third and foremost is such a sector and people working in such a sector requires acknowledgement. They need to be pointed out, they need to be thanked, they need to be encouraged to continue working and continue with doing this. It was not easy to understand and to work at the beginning, but again, right now, when we're here today yielding all this information and yielding all these results, we are 100% sure that there is no way where all these hands cannot come together to make sure that this is a sustainable movement in such a government.
Thank you. And I couldn't agree more that it's important to showcase social entrepreneurs and their work. We just had the chance to bring 40 social entrepreneurs to Davos, and we had a debrief session which was highly emotional because they were feeling heard, they were feeling seen, and they were actually starting to influence some of the agendas. So I'm sure that after the 3 days here, all of the social entrepreneurs that are here will feel the same as we're more and more advancing this conversation. Thank you so much. And maybe coming also a little bit back to the economical strategy of a country, Mr. Ugbo. The ILO obviously supports governments around the world, and a lot of the attention of a national economic development plan usually is on SMEs. You mentioned it in your first comment. So the small and medium-sized entrepreneurs. But why is it then important to combine social economy work with focus on SMEs? Does the social economy support the growth of SMEs, or what's the importance of that effort?
I mean, if you go back to the opening remark that Mrs. Schwab made, you know that the social and solidarity economy is 7% of GDP, 12% of employment. 12% employment is quite huge. Secondly, in a lot of countries in the world, we in all the world, we talk about 2 billion people that are working in the informal sector. And most of the economy remains driven by them. And that's the point that also I think the minister was making. And therefore, it's crucial for us to make sure that the representative of the social and solidarity economy are at the table when the government are shaping up the national development strategy, and this is what we are pushing for in ILO, either directly or through their organization. And we have seen it during COVID crisis, where it was very, very clear that to be able for government to have an effective resilience to in managing COVID, you needed the social and solidarity actors on that. So for me, it's really, quite frankly, a country that will adopt a national development strategy while ignoring that dimension. I believe that plan will fail, honestly speaking. Which is one. Secondly, it's also hugely important what the government will put in place to support. Either through capacity building, either through access to financing or other means or B2B, it's going to be very, very important. The third dimension I want to bring up is the gender dimension of it, because in a lot of the social solidarity economic we are talking about is to see the role that the women are playing in either not only in operationalizing the economy, but also through the governance and the management side of the economy. Link that to the community approach. What is quite very good in what we're talking about in terms of social and solidarity economy is the bridge role between the economy and the community. Mm-hmm. This is what we're saying, that if we all in agreement that the economy, the social, and the environmental, the three pillars should move side by side, that's where you really need the social and economic sector. My last point is about, or at least on that, is about addressing the inequality conundrum that we have. We know that you wouldn't have Mr. Schwab was talking about re-globalization on that. We cannot re-globalize if we really don't take care of groups that are at risk of being left behind. And if you want to deal with groups that are at the risk of left behind, here again, you need the social and solidarity economy on that. So I can go on, and I will again back to the term that Honorable Minister used, necessity.
Yes. Well, we're getting excited. That's great. Unfortunately, it's the end of our session, but I want to thank you all for your contributions on the panel today. We've heard that social economy really is the glue that ties together the social, the economic, as well as the societal developments. It is an opportunity to bring entirely new groups also into the economy, groups that are vulnerable, that are disadvantaged at the moment. So we're hoping that this summit will also have a strong influence of the social economy. We're glad that we were able to set the tone this morning already, right after the plenary. We hope that you're going to take a lot of these inspirations with you on this 3-day journey. Thanks so much for coming. And invite all of you to continue learning with each other, continue learning with social entrepreneurs and forerunners of the social economy in the public administrations. It is a piece of the development puzzle. It's an important piece. It's growing. More and more attention is coming on the social economy. So we're looking forward also to support governments as the Global Alliance for Social Entrepreneurship to bring together public sector actors, the social entrepreneurship community, with also the private sector to build that inclusive growth that is bridging the gap between the sectors. Thank you so much, and I wish you a very good World Growth Summit.